Welcome to Stuff I Never Learned from a Schoolbook. If this is your first time watching, hello, my name is Tom Springer and I am the host. If you're a return offender, welcome back. That is your fault for keep coming back, but I appreciate it. It is 7 o'clock Monday night at Central, so that means it's 8 Eastern, 6 Mountain, 5 Pacific, 6 a.m. tomorrow out in Indonesia, 9 a.m. tomorrow out in Australia, 2 p.m. Out in Hawaii. And I want to give a special thanks to the folks out in Hawaii for Joe, Melody, and Uilani for taking me under the wing while I was out there and showing me around. I also want to let everyone know that those out in Maui are in our thoughts and prayers. So keep them in your thoughts and prayers for the fires that are going on out there. Other than that, thank you very much for coming to the show. I appreciate it. I do have on a special guest, as I always do. And I'm not going to give him any time to breathe. So I'm going to just go ahead and bring in Joe Vitale right now. And let's all say hi to Joe. Joe, what's going on, brother? How you doing?
I'm doing pretty good. Just throw me up there.
Just throw me to the wolves like normal. So yeah, we got a few people coming in. So there's Dawn Marie. Hey, I know that name. Saying, hey, Joe. Rosie's out there laughing at me for being dumb because that's just how I am. She's saying hey to us, and she's saying, and Mr. Kyle Mangus, by the way, is going to be in my show in a couple episodes, so he'll be out here. Prayers for Maui. Nikki is saying hello. This is actually my wife, Joe, so she's saying hello.
Hello.
She is not. I don't think she's in the house. I didn't hear her come in the house yet. She was out and about, so she'll be coming in later. Someone's asking who is Joe. Devil's Art Production. So
that guy
already, right?
Yeah,
he's saying hi.
My stalker
is saying hello to us. Kathy's saying good evening. So, like I said, this is going to continue on. We can say hi as they roll in. But Joe, welcome to the show. Thank you so much for being here. I greatly appreciate it. We did talk a little bit beforehand, but do me a favor and introduce yourself to everybody like they don't already know who you are, and kind of do me a favor and tell them how you got involved in what you do with the paranormal investigating and the production side, if you wouldn't mind, and kind of what got you brought into this world and how you're doing it.
Well, first off, hi, I'm Joe.
That's Joe right there.
Yep, that's me. I'm Joe. That's a good thing my name's on there because I'd forget it. No, I've been a paranormal investigator, researcher for on and off for 30 years. Not straight 30 years. There's been a couple of years there. I'm like, I got to step away a little bit. New family stuff and some other things as well. But
details.
Yeah. Let's see. I'm a musician. Love music. I love creating sounds and stuff like that as well. Oh, geez. Let's see.
So let me ask that. What kind of music?
I'm more metal / progressive metal.
Oh, I would have taken you for a symphony guy, but that's me.
Oh no, I'll listen to that too. Or like big orchestrated epic music and stuff like that.
Like big band stuff.
Yeah. Oh yeah. I enjoy stuff like that as well. But I am very picky about what I listen to. If I don't like it, I'm just going to be like, yeah, they suck.
Yeah, not them.
And they may not, but I'm just like, yeah, they suck because I'm old and I like my music.
Right? Yeah.
So let's see. So my beginnings into the paranormal, there have been times where I've had, not just me, but other family members as well. We've had these really weird experiences. Probably the one I had actually forgotten about it until my aunt mentioned it to me a while ago. And then it clicked. I'm like, oh yeah, I forgot about that. Holy crap! The one, it was probably the first because that's what I remember, anyways. That as the earliest for me was my mom and stepdad. They went to go, I don't know where it was they were going. I think a concert or something like that. And my mom's cousin was going to babysit my aunt and I. Now, my aunt and I were like a year and a half apart from each other in age.
Right.
So we grew up more like brother and sister. So we go over to where my mom's cousin lives, and I needed to use the bathroom. So I go upstairs to use the bathroom, and she's like, "Oh, you got to check out the toilet. It's a clawfoot toilet." No, I'm a little guy. I have no idea what the hell that is.
Right.
And I go look at it, and yeah, it kind of freaked me out a little bit. I'm like, oh, never seen anything like that before. So I started using the bathroom, and I literally heard a woman screaming in the bathroom, telling me to get out.
Hmm.
Well, I painted the walls yellow and ran out of there. And I'm like, some ladies in the bathroom screaming at me, telling me to get out because they heard it too.
Yeah.
And then, my mom's cousin's like, it might have been the neighbors. Like, no, like it was in the room. It was in the bathroom with me. So then we started hearing heavy footsteps come down the stairs to a landing, and we heard this lady screaming, for us to get out of there. Well, that freaked us all out. Now, at that point in time, too, my grandmother, she was newly Christian. So I just remember vaguely her talking about, oh, it's, the devil, whatever. Make it go away. Never went back to her place again. So fast forward a few years later, my dad bought a house that my grandfather had built. The house wasn't built on any kind of graveyard or anything like that. It was the suburbs, Southeast Michigan. Beautiful home. It was a custom home that my grandfather had built. There was a family member who had a lot of problems. He was mentally ill. He had a lot of things going on, but he decided to get into some pretty dark stuff. And nobody knew about that at the time. Now, my grandparents, they moved out of the house. I'm trying to make a long story short. My grandparents ended up moving out of the house because my grandfather got an offer that he did not want to refuse to go back to New York, because that's where my dad's side of the family, if they didn't come off the boat, then they were born and raised in New York. That's where they're from. So he went back because he didn't want to refuse the offer. And then my aunt and uncle, they lived in the house along with the other uncle who got into the weird stuff. I've heard stories. I don't know if they're true or not, but the stories that I have been told, they found out something, I guess, paranormal going on when my aunt was calling for my uncle to come down for dinner.
Yeah.
He wasn't answering. I guess she went upstairs, went into his room, and again, I don't know if this is true. This is just what I heard. Levitating off the ground just a little bit, just a couple of inches. And that freaked her out, and he had to go. That's the story that I was told. Again, I don't know if that's true or not.
Right.
And that was told to me by family member. They move out. My dad gets the house. He buys the house. Before my dad moved us all in there, my aunt and uncle found some stuff in the attic because they're like, he likes to hang out in the attic. Go check it out. So they did, and they found like books on satanic rituals, just all kinds of stuff. And what it boiled down to was he was a guitar player, and he wanted to make a deal with something, I guess the devil or something. I don't know.
Yeah.
And he actually invited this thing into the house. Now, nothing was like really bad for my aunt and uncle. My uncle, he's one of those guys that if he tells you a story, like going to the gas station, it is this big epic story, right? He's like invested in telling this story about how he went to the gas station. He exaggerates things. That's just who he is. But he was kept telling us that something was going on in the house, and my dad, my stepmom, like, okay, yeah, whatever. When we moved in, it didn't feel inviting. It felt like something was there, that we were invading its space, but I never thought too much of it at that point in time. But it slowly started to ramp up. My first experience with it, kind of big experience with it was I ended up getting in trouble for something that I actually did not do. My parents had these wine glasses hanging up from this thing on the ceiling, and one of those wine glasses just slid off, broke. Well, of course, I got blamed for it because I was down there and I had a broom in my hand.
Hey.
I was doing chores. And I'm like, did you do that? I'm like, no, I didn't do that. It just came off.
You're like, no, but now I got to sweep it up.
Yeah. Like, they're like, there's no way it would just slide off. You hit it with the broom. I'm like, no, I really did not hit it with the broom. I was nowhere near it.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I was told I was grounded and go to my room, whatever. So I was up in my room. And they were actually leaving. My dad and stepmom, they were leaving somewhere. So my stepmother's half-sister, she was babysitting our little sister. And I'm up in my room. And I'm just laying in my bed, playing with the Silver Hawks, the old toys.
That's right. Yes.
Yep, Silver Hawks. Yeah. That'll probably tell you how old I was at that point in time. So I started hearing knocking coming from our closet. We have a big walk-in closet. Like, you could put a twin bed in there and still have plenty of room. Now I'm thinking it's probably like my stepbrother, because my other two brothers, they were with my mom for the weekend. My stepbrother, he was going to his grandmother's. So it was really just me, my sister, and my aunt. So I thought it was kind of strange. I'm like, haha, funny, Todd, whatever. And I open up the closet door. Nobody in there. I'm like kicking some clothes around, thinking I'm going to see somebody in there. Nothing. I thought that was kind of strange. Close the closet door, turn the lights on. At this point in time, I didn't realize it, but this is when the first time I was trying to debunk something. I laid back on my bed again, messing with the toys. I kept looking over at the closet, seeing what would happen. Well, I heard the first knock, and I turned my head, and I'm looking because there's between the floor and the door, there's about an inch and about a half inch of a gap. Yeah. I'd be able to see underneath there. I didn't see anything. I'm like, okay, that's weird. Now I was afraid at that point in time.
Yeah.
So my aunt and my sister, they come upstairs, going into the bathroom. They're going to do a little makeover thing, whatever. And I told my aunt, I'm like, there is something knocking on the closet door. She stood there for I don't know, maybe 5 seconds. Oh, it's just your imagination. Right. They walk off. As soon as they started going down the stairs, the knock, 3 knocks. And I'm like, nope, I'm out of here.
Yeah.
I'm gone. And it progressed from there. It was more psychological than it was physical. Yes, my dad, he was attacked by something. He woke up. He had these claw marks on his neck. He had bite marks on his wrists and his legs. My stepmother was tossed out of bed. My brother, my stepbrother and half sister, they had seen some things that happened there, but a lot of it was psychological. And looking back on that now, though, I think in such a way, for me, that was supposed to happen. It may sound weird, but not everybody looks at the psychological aspects of certain hauntings. So looking back on that, it's kind of like I think I learned something from that.
Yeah.
But my grandmother, uber Christian, it's the devil, always the devil. And she would sit there and tell me, the devil, he's powerful and he can do this and he can do it. And just telling me all this stuff. And he's like, but there's Jesus. All you got to do is ask for Jesus.
Right.
And I'm like, yeah, okay. So the devil can do all these crazy things. And this dude, Jesus, can walk on water, turn water into wine, feed a bunch of people. How, is he a fighter here? What, so that absolutely, that terrified me. I wanted nothing to do with it. If somebody had said ghosts, I'm like, nope, it's devils and demons and stuff. And that's at that time I was a young kid.
Yeah.
That's where my mindset was. It took 2 or 3 attempts to get rid of the thing that was in the house. Now, I was not there to witness how that whole thing went down. I just know that it didn't work. The first time, the last time it was done, I remember coming back from my mom's house, and like the house was a mess.
Yeah.
And it threw a fit. Now the house still had some activity, but it was nowhere near what it was. But yeah, I was, as terrified of it.
Yeah.
So fast forward a few years, I'm with a friend of mine. We go to a restaurant, Denny's. And at that point in time, Denny's like, hey, you can just come here and order coffee for free. We're not going to charge you. You don't have to buy anything.
Right.
So as very young teenagers, junior high school kids, we were like, hey, let's go to Denny's and take advantage of that and pretend like we're adults and drink coffee. That's what we did. So we were sitting at this table, a friend of mine and I, and my friend, he was kind of popping jokes about the house being haunted. So he got up to leave to go use the bathroom, but along the way he ran into some other friends. And this dude in the booth behind us gets up and starts asking me questions about what my friend was saying. I have no idea who this dude is.
Right.
I'm like, at my age, a 20-year-old is an old person, right? Yeah, because when you're like 12 or 13 years old or however old I was, it's like, this old person who's like in their 20s is trying to talk to me like, what are you trying to do here, buddy? Like, right. You pervert, whatever. So he was asking me questions, and then he said to me, hey, you know what? We can always, take you somewhere and talk about it. We're interested. We want to know. I'm like, I don't want to talk about it. And especially them saying, hey, we'll take you to a place, that we investigated that apparently haunted. We'll take you there so you can talk. And I'm like, okay, yeah, that's going to work. I wasn't
have candy. I mean, thanks.
Yeah. What does your van look like? So they actually had a van. So I was terrified to talk about. I didn't want to talk about it because first off, my parents didn't want anybody to know.
Yeah.
Because back, even
that's
then,
and that's stigma.
Yeah.
Well, yeah.
So he went away. I'm like, okay, whatever. A week or two later, I'm horrible with remembering dates. I'm with my dad at a gas station. My dad knew the guy who owned the gas station, and he was talking to the guy. And here's that dude. He's like, hey, you remember me? And I'm like, oh, crap.
Yeah.
Hey, that offer still stands. We're really interested. Want to talk to you a little bit about it, whatever. And I'm like, oh, I got to get rid of this guy. So this dude, I'm trying to get him to go away. And I know my dad's coming out. I can see him start walking away, turning his head, talking. And I'm like, oh, crap. So I gave the guy the phone number. I thought I'd never hear from him again. Got the phone number. He went away. A week later, after that, my dad says, hey, some guy's on the phone. Want to talk to you. Well, okay. So I answer the phone, and it's that dude. His name is Bill. Like, hey, we're going to be going to a home. We've investigated. You're safe. You'll be fine there. And, we'll sit at the kitchen table, and we'll conversate, and all this other stuff will be going on at the same time. I've already agreed to it. No getting out of it. That was my mindset at the time. Okay, gave him directions how to get to the house. Now I got to figure out what I'm going to tell my parents.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking. What are you going to tell? I'm going to go hang out with this 20-year-old.
It's like 14, I think, at the time. And I'm like, hey, I'm going to go spend the night at a friend's house. His brother's going to come and get me. Whatever. And that's what happened. And from that point on, I continued to go with them. I learned a lot without actually knowing that I was learning anything.
Yeah.
and it was a lot of fun. It was a great team. And then I didn't do any kind of investigating for like a couple of months. And then all of a sudden, our lead, Jeff, says, "Hey, you and Bill, or you guys are going to go investigate, the living room. We're going to go and investigate over here." I'm like, "Wait, what? Whoa, wait a minute. What's going on here?"
Yeah.
And that was that. And I slowly lost that fear. I don't think everything is like a demon or anything like that.
Right.
But, just my grandmother, being super religious and stuff like that, that scared me more than anything else. She really put a lot of fear in me about the paranormal.
Yeah.
But yeah, after a while, I lost that fear. I had a better understanding, and I was learning. And here I am today. Ta-da!
So speaking of here you are today, you and I tried to talk about a couple of things beforehand, like I said. And one of them is the fact that you have done something called the Harrisville Haunting.
Yep. So Matt Benton and I had Devil's Hours production, along with Eric Connor from Epic Paranormal, and Billy Cook from I can't even remember because he don't even do anything anymore now. Paranormal Pursuit, that's what it is. We went and we filmed a documentary at the Conjuring House. Originally, it was supposed to be Matt and I, and Matt wanted to bring his team there, but that wasn't going to happen. It's a long ride, people working, they couldn't do it. And I'm always at the mindset of less is more. The less people, the better. So I told Matt, I said, you know what? Billy Cook, he does great interviews. He does an amazing job, and he's an awesome investigator. He's laid back. I'd like to have him.
Yeah.
And I was surprised. Matt said, well, I want Eric to be a part of this, which I was surprised because Matt and Eric are very night and day. They're very opposite. I don't think you can get any more opposite than them two. But it had a lot to do with Eric's energy and the way, he investigates. Eric is all in. Like, he is 100% the believer. He's all in. And Eric is just a lot of fun to investigate with. He's funny. I like to tease him and stuff like that. But, he's a great dude and just fun to work with.
Yeah.
So putting it all together, we went and we did it. I was very familiar with the Conjuring story. I knew a lot of the stories. They're not true. I knew who was involved before the Warrens. So I'm like, okay, we need to talk to these people, like Carl and Keith Johnson. Andrea definitely will do an interview.
Right.
There's John Huntington. So we were able to get them together and able to interview them face to face, with the exception of Andrea. But it was amazing. And I knew of Keith and Carl Johnson forever, like
now,
way back in the day.
So for who are they?
So they are demonologists. They were the first to actually go to the Conjuring House and try to help the family. They were actually the ones who also got in contact with Ed and Lorraine Warren, really to get their opinion, come check out the house, get an opinion. They were the first to actually go over there to help. And like I said, I've known about them forever. And to be there with them in that setting, I was like, it doesn't get any better than this. This is awesome. when I got there, I wasn't like, oh my God, we're at the Conjuring House, super excited. I'm like, to me, and I don't mean this negatively, but when you do this for a while, you kind of lose that excitement.
Yeah.
It's like, here we go. Here's another one. But it was really cool to be there and interview Keith and Carl and get their perspective on the house. And it was amazing. But I honestly was expecting really nothing to happen, because that's usually what happens. I know TV shows and YouTube, like YouTube people, they go to these places and like it's crazy and all this other stuff, which I'll just say that's pretend.
Yeah.
Normally it's very quiet and not much happens. But we had a couple of interesting things happen. And it's kind of funny to see the feedback on that, because some people will say, that's it. So you guys got, it's like, no, I don't think you guys realize how significant that is. Like to capture something like that and it being real.
Yeah.
That's rare. But I mean, it was a lot of fun, and going there, I thought I would never go back after that, but been there twice after.
Right.
We went back to film a little bit more stuff, and then we did our event there, and we showed the documentary at the Conjuring House, and then had a few people investigate with us. And there was something, I don't want to give it away, but there was something that happened in the documentary, and we had these people all in that room, and I said, all right, guys, what you seen, try to make it happen. Do everything you can to make that happen.
Right.
And they did. Couldn't make it happen. One of the guys looked over at me and said, that just made this a hell of a lot realer. I'm like, I know. I'm like, we have no explanation for that. We don't know.
Yeah. Yeah. So I'm going to try to pull information out of you, see if I get anything.
Okay.
Did Keith and Carl, right?
Mm-hmm.
Did they give you any little tidbits of information that they had not shared out in the past with you?
One of them did, and it was regarding a show that they were on early in the season, and I'll just leave it at that.
Like pulling teeth, people. Come on. Work with the interviewer here.
Well, hey, off the record, I'll tell you, but not publicly, and not that not that there's any animosity or anything like that.
Right,
it's just something that I learned, and I was a little disappointed, but it is what it is.
So, so with that said, though, I'm also reading up around here that that you are actually up for awards.
Yeah.
For the Harrisville Haunting. Now, we talked about this beforehand, and I want you to share, if you could, if you don't mind, what you're up for and why you think they're funny.
Okay. So the documentary has already won 22 awards total. Of course, Matt, he edited and directed it, so he got awards, specifically for that.
Right.
So yeah, so far 22 awards. Now we're up for more awards, 6 more awards. And yeah, I have no problems sharing it because I think it's hilarious. All right. So, and I'll get to those. I'll save those for last.
Right.
So, best documentary, best feature film, best editor, that's for Matt, best sound, that's for Matt. Then the funny ones. Best special effects and best actress.
That's
Like,
best supporting actress, though, right?
yeah, best actress and best supporting actress.
Fantastic.
I'm
In a
like,
documentary.
there were no special effects, and nobody was acting. Like, that was their, like, what you see is what you get. There wasn't any acting.
Right.
And we thought about the special effects part, and we're like, oh, okay, so there is this one sequence where we show it's not really Bathsheba, but it's a picture of an older woman. The I don't want to give anything away. We'll just say there's something that happens there. And then the other one is a photo that Matt took, and he added some fire to it or whatever in editing. And that was really it. And then I'm like, I'm thinking to myself, I definitely, because I did some tech stuff. And I'm like, I'm pretty sure they were like, or they weren't like, throat's dry. I'm like, I'm pretty sure they weren't like, oh, hey, look at this text sequence. That's pretty cool. Let's throw it in a category. I don't think that was the case. So, yeah. So, I mean, that's kind of just like, oh, man. I'm like, those are, I mean, for Andrea, if that's something, that she is,
Yeah, so Andrea was one that's actually for best supporting actress
or whatever. But there was, like I said, there was no acting, and the only special effects we could think of were just those
awesome
two
little
sequences. But other than that, it's like,
oh man, that's a tough competition you got to be up against then.
And I'm just like, yeah, I really hope that we those are the two that we don't get, because there wasn't any acting, and the special effects weren't any really even special effects anyways.
Right.
It was just, hey, we can do this cool thing in editing, and that was it.
A couple of animations. Yeah.
I mean, that's all it was just some animation stuff, and that was it. So, and of course, you do get those people who will sit there and say, oh, this was all fake. Look at how they reacted to things, or look at this or look at that. I'm like, you guys can actually watch the entire editing process from start to finish, everything.
Yeah.
We're very transparent about that. We want people to know that, none of this is fake. This is all genuine. Watch it. Matt went on his channel and he live streamed for Patreon members only. Mm-hmm. We didn't want to throw it out there at that point in time to everyone, because then a bunch of people will see it. So it was put behind a paywall at that point in time, and went through the entire editing process, even doing reviews and stuff like that. You can definitely see us bump heads from time to time when it came to certain things. But it's all there. And so if anybody wants to question the credibility, it's there.
So
it's there.
Carl's asking if you're going to give me your reveal after the show. So there are a couple questions that popped up. One was related to your earlier statement about the house that you were in, that was your uncle's and moved over to the family. Did the entity or spirit stay in the old house, or did you ever figure out what it was?
So all I know was it was basically invited by the uncle. Mm-hmm. Even though he left the house, it stayed there. It never went with him. I don't understand why that happened. I don't know, but I guess it's just something confined to the house and not him. It
was never closed properly and was stuck in the house or something. So
it was never like, no, it was just like there and never bothered to close or anything like that.
Right.
I just know that when again, I was a kid, so I didn't witness any of this because they were like, yeah, it's better that the kids weren't in the house when this whole thing is going on. All I know is it took a couple of attempts and the house was not anything like it was. There were still weird things going on from time to time, but it was never the way it was before that whole thing.
Yeah.
But I will tell you, there's been times where it's been kind of scary because my uncle, he would show up at the house just randomly. And it was usually when my dad wasn't home, and it was just like my stepmom. And he had come over one time. We're at the kitchen table. I'm wanting out of there. I'm like, no, I want to go outside and play. I don't want to be here. No, get me out of here. My son's like, no, you're not going anywhere. You're not going anywhere. You're staying here. Well, he had this cold. He was congested. And my stepmom's like, well, here, I got some NyQuil or whatever. Take some of it. This dude chugs the NyQuil. And my stepmom's like, you can't do that. That'll make you sick. And it wasn't long enough for that stuff to like get into his system, but he turned around and he looked at absolutely nothing and started having a conversation. And my stepmom's like, who are you talking to? He's like, well, you can't see him. Only I can. And we're like, oh, okay.
Look at the time. Think you should be going now.
Yeah. And I'm like, I want to get out of here. I want to get out of here. I want to get out of here.
Right.
I got to say hello to Carl Johnson. It was awesome. Like I said, it was awesome to meet him and his brother, man. Like I said, I've heard about them way back, when, and to actually finally get to.
Oh, there's Carl right there kicking in what they say. Invitations to disembodied folks are often accepted, and after the spirit guests are reluctant to leave. So,
and I do have to say that this family member, he was still is schizophrenic, and he had other mental health things going on with him. So I kind of wonder, because then we go into the psychological aspect of it.
Yeah.
We do often hear about people going to a location having like a really bad experience, whereas I or other people, we go there and I'm like, that never happened to us.
Yeah.
So I have to wonder if certain things, whether like mental illness, I'm not downing anybody who has mental illness. It's not something to make fun of or anything like that. Can't help it. But I have to wonder, those who suffer with certain mental illnesses, maybe having some sort of struggles in their lives, if they're more prone to have encounters with something that may not always be demonic, but we'll say aggressive.
Yeah.
So, and that's something that I would love to further look into. Because a lot of people who I hear that from, they're always saying, "Oh, I have bad anxiety, or I have depression, or something like that is going on."
Right.
So I had to wonder if perhaps there is something to that.
That's a Bill Slevin question, Bill. If you're out there, Bill works with a lot of folks like that, so that's why I'm saying that's a Bill Slevin question. So. Rosie also asks, and I kind of know this answer already because I know someone who was just there, but does anyone live in the Conjuring house now, or is it still there? So still there.
Yeah, when we filmed the documentary, Jennifer and Corey, they own the house, and they ended up selling the house. I think the realtor, if I'm not mistaken, actually bought the house. I'm not 100% sure. Don't quote me on that. They did buy it, and the stipulations were that it stays open for investigations. And there were other stipulations involved as well. So it's still there to investigate.
Right.
And this is my opinion. I'm not going to state this as a fact. I don't think the house itself is haunted. I think that it's the land. But for certain reasons, the parents, they were the perfect people for this stuff to happen to.
Right.
Because even after the parents, there was somebody else who lived there, and her story is conflicting. And we thought about interviewing her, but we were like, I don't know. We didn't feel right. She says, oh, it was, not haunted. We went from, oh, it's not haunted to, oh, it's haunted to these other things. And the reports were conflicting. I thought it was kind of strange too, though. This is in the documentary. There is like a desk with a drawing of the crooked neck lady that a child drew. The lady was running a daycare out of that house. A child never heard these stories before.
Right.
Have no clue. And they draw this crooked neck lady.
Yeah.
That's kind of weird. So this lady, she owned the house for a while. Ghost hunters, they were there and they investigated the house. They didn't really come up with a whole lot. I think they got like an EVP or something. I don't remember what it was. And then she sold it, and Jen and Corey, they bought the house. Now the realtor has it. So
there's Carl kicking in. Jacqueline Nunez owns the house, but no one officially resides there. She's a developer in Boston. The parents' family were the Battery. Norma Sutcliffe, the next second owner, is not receptive. So I will tell you, not to cut into your story, but I will tell you, Rosie, and for anyone else who's interested, and Joe, on August 28th, I will actually have someone on. Her name is Erin Bush, and she has a very strong attachment to the Conjuring House and to the parents. And she was actually just there for like 10 or 14 days, is kind of like caretaking, and she very much is like comfortable. She goes there, and it's almost like that's her, like she's drawn to that place, and she loves that place and cares for that place very much. And she was just there maybe a week or two ago, and she's going to be on my show in a couple of weeks. She'll be on here on the 28th.
Right. And that's, to me anyways, it's interesting that she says she's comfortable there, because when I went in there, I was comfortable the entire time. Like, I don't feel like I'm drawn to the place or anything like that.
Right.
But I felt very comfortable.
Yeah.
I honestly, and as Carl had said, and he definitely knows more about it, the house than I do. He's been there a few times. They've done work over there and stuff. Yeah. But yeah, I personally believe that it's not the house, it's the land, because the neighbors are experiencing things. The second time we went back, I was looking outside and I kept seeing these weird lights up in the trees. It's dead of winter. It's not any kind of. It's definitely not lightning bugs that I'm seeing, and it's too big to be them. So I don't know. I have no idea what it was, but I kept seeing them. But as Carl had said, they were like, it was the Battery for whatever reason.
Yeah.
They were.
Yep. Yep. So I gotta scroll back up for a second. Stuart is asking, this is kind of off this subject now, and he's going back to when we were talking about when you were out there investigating. But he's asking, what's the name of the documentary, and where can it be viewed?
The name of the documentary is The Harrisville Haunting, The Real Conjuring House. You can watch it on Amazon Prime, Vudu, Tubi. You can get it on Apple. What is it? Apple
TV or
TV. Yeah, Apple TV. There's a huge list. We also on Match Channel, Devil's Hours Production.
Yep.
You can also watch the documentary over there as well. There's all kinds of places it can be watched.
Yeah. Yep. All kinds of. I kind of researched it myself. Sorry, I'm reading notes as we go. And Rosie says, good. She says, good. I have Apple TV. So there you go. Nikki is asking, do you have any tips or tricks of the trade you would like to share with us, basically for like investigations and such?
Don't
and Stuart's telling us to hurry up and get done so we can go watch.
Don't rely on REM pods or apps or anything like that. False positives. Do the research. There's a lot of locations out there that their history isn't quite what they say.
Right.
I have investigated a place in Georgia. I'm not going to name the place. I will say this place, as far as I know, is still owned by a judge, which is But anyhow, the ladies on the team, they did research. The problem is that they did research based on what other people were saying and what they were told.
Right.
And then going into that investigation,
they have a bias. So
and we're not investigating correctly.
Right.
We're investigating based on, fairy tale BS.
Yeah.
So when I went and I did the research and found out that there was a lot of things that were not true at all.
Yeah.
In fact, the caretaker showed me a picture of 3 women dressed up as witches and claimed that one of those ladies was the wife who lived in this place. I took a picture of that picture and I did a reverse Google search on that photo. And it was for advertisement for a Halloween shop out in California, one of those high-end ones. Yeah.
Awesome.
So I highly recommend really, getting in there, do the grind, do the work. It can be really helpful. We're going to get all the answers? No, it's just not going to happen. But also when you go to a location, if you're able to go back to a location, and I'm lucky enough that I've been able to go back to different locations so I can concentrate on other things. Like I can focus on one thing and then I know I'm coming back and I can go focus on another. That is something that is helpful. A lot of times we go to these locations and like there's supposed to be like 20 different ghosts. And everybody's like, hey, is this so-and-so? Hey, we heard that. And then sometimes you get the stories confused.
Yeah.
And that's not helpful. Try to concentrate on just 2 or 3 spirits that seem to be more prominent in the location. And then, kind of go from there.
Yeah, we've been to a couple locations where the information was one thing. And as we were actually talking to the spirit directly and kind of doing some of the investigating ourselves, we found out it was totally bogus. It wasn't what the rumors or the what other people have said in the past claimed it was. So yeah, we've come across that once or twice ourselves, just because we've listened to other people's information and realized it was wrong. And I want to throw this in there really quick because Dawn is chiming in, and she says the best way to watch is forcing Joe to watch it with me and having him give me a play-by-play when he stopped by for a visit. Dawn Marie, best answer you could have given.
Oh my Lord. and I had to watch it all over again at the award thing. This time it's in a theater, so oh Lord.
So let me shift gears really quick because as you know, I Facebook stalk people I interview, and this is so when you're talking about Matt, you're talking about Matt Benton, I'm assuming.
Yeah, that guy
over there. So it turns out you all have something coming up.
Yep.
You're gonna go over to the Monroe House for a handful of days.
Yeah.
Right?
So yeah. Well, we went in. We went back in April. We stayed there a few days. Mike, Diddy, and we stayed there the longest by a day. And we've filmed our next documentary there. The Monroe House is a very interesting place, and yeah, I'll be going back. Hopefully, Don will be able to go with me back to the Monroe House. There's a few things that we need to do, and of course, we're gonna be there a couple of days, so be investigating it. Maybe some of that stuff will be in the documentary. Nick and Katrina, they've been there for Paranormal Lockdown. I do believe other television shows have been there. We wanted to do something that was that we thought would be interesting, especially the history, like just the history of it.
Right.
Yeah, I stalled out there. I seen Carl's.
Yeah, I know.
Pop up, and
I threw that out there for others to read for you, and then all of a sudden I saw you stop. I was like, "Crap, he's reading." I stumped him.
Yeah, I tend to like. Oh, there's
that squirrel moment right there. Oh.
Yeah. Oh, wait, Carl said something because, like I said, I've known about them for a long time, and then seeing them like, I wasn't really like that though. I was hopefully professional, but
so it's posted on your site, so I'm going to give them the name of the documentary that you're working on. Is that okay?
Absolutely.
So it's called Evil Unearthed.
Yep.
Is the title of the documentary that you're working on now. And as it says in here, you're building this content for your YouTube channel. And you also say in here that you may be joined by some really cool people, but you haven't given the names away yet. So I understand you won't, because it says in here you will not give away who it is.
Right.
But yes, I mean, that's very cool to know that that you have this coming up, and it's all part of an ongoing investigation that you've been doing at this location. So it's very cool that you're actually doing a whole documentary on this.
I believe.
Sorry, Evil Unearthed. My bad, Carl. Evil Unearthed.
So really, probably further back more for Michael, but really the investigation stuff really started to happen. I think it was like 2016. I went there for the first time in 2017. That's actually when I first met Matt. And that was very strange. But it was pretty interesting of what had happened there. And I've, gone back quite a few times to investigate it. So for Michael, Matt, and I it's quite a few years of going to the location and investigating. This documentary, I'll say this, I'm not one to like sit there and yell, oh, demonic, evil, the devil, I'm not one to do that. I don't even like go searching for that kind of thing. Like I go to a location, whatever happens.
Right.
If it just so happens that I run into something, not cool. Then, I try to watch myself.
Yeah.
But this location, it is, now there are people who will say different, but that's based on their experience. However, we have video and audio and a lot of other things that suggest very different that, yes, this is a demonic haunting.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, this is a very psychological haunting, and that stuff will be presented in the documentary.
Very cool.
And I would definitely like to continue with other documentaries, that follow more, with the psychological aspect.
Right.
So it'll be interesting. I think it'll be really good. I think this will turn out to be. Oh, excuse me. This will turn out to be something unique, different from the Conjuring House.
Mm-hmm.
Like I said, we do have audio of some disturbing stuff. I will say, because it's already out there on my channel, I have been threatened a couple of times by whatever's there. Something in the basement, it literally said, "I will kill you."
Oh.
And it's happened a couple of times to me there.
You got that going for you.
Another thing too, Richard Esap, book writer. I don't know if you guys know who he is. He wrote a book called On Dark Grounds about the Monroe House and my stories in that book, and that's my encounter with and it happened quick, but with I guess you could say a doppelganger, but I that was a demonic entity. There's no question.
Yeah.
And I can talk about that real quick. It's in the book. The book takes some liberties. Okay, that's not my fault. Basically, I was there for 2 nights. I had Eric with me the first night, and just pretty active. He left. He was going to meet up with another buddy out in Alabama to investigate with him. So I had the house to myself. So Eric leaves. I'm hungry. I'm fat. I like food. So I hit McDonald's. I come back. I lay on the couch to go to sleep. And about a half hour, 45 minutes later, I'm woken to this banging sound. I'm like, what the hell is that?
Yeah.
At first, I thought it was Eric. He forgot something. I realized it was coming from up over my head. I started thinking, is Eddie here doing work? Like, no, he wouldn't do that. So I got up off the couch, and from the couch to the door to go upstairs, it's not that far away. By the time I reached for the door handle, the banging stopped. I went up there anyways to go check it out. I had to use the bathroom anyways. I come out of the bathroom, and I'm walking down the hallway upstairs. The way the Monroe House is set up, the upstairs is actually a separate living quarter.
Okay.
So I walked through the hallway, through the kitchen, and I started to smell this cucumber melon lotion. I'm like, just thinking to myself, okay. But I'm still kind of foggy. I'm kind of tired. I continue to walk, and then there's a short hallway that goes to 2 different rooms. One of the rooms is what we call the Ouija board room. And something caught my eye, and I turned and I looked, and I've seen somebody walk in that room, somebody that I recognize, a female. And I just stood there. I'm like, did I seriously just see that? Now, I'll admit, I was tired.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was tired. I'm like, well, if I go in there, I don't have any equipment on me, and it's just a story. So I'm like, I'm going to go get my equipment. So I run down the stairs, go to grab some stuff. I went into, or I got downstairs into the living room, and I was greeted with the smell of like raw, nasty sewage, rotting meat kind of smell, and sulfur. It was bad.
Yeah.
And it was bad enough to make me sick to my stomach. Well, I wasn't going to make it back upstairs to evict my McDonald's. So I ran out the door into the backyard, and I went as far as I could in the backyard, and just blah. It was that bad.
Yeah.
And I'm like, what the hell just happened?
Right.
Yeah, well, what just happened? So I'm a little confused. I go back into the house. I walked back out. I'm like, oop, because I I honestly felt like my life was in danger.
Hmm.
Now I'm not afraid of anything in the paranormal, and
Right.
it wasn't fear necessarily, but it was one of those things where it's like whatever's here wants to kill you. You should probably step outside.
It's that
And
gut feeling of survival.
yeah,
Yeah.
so I go outside and it was cold. It was November, and I get in my car, sit in my car, and I looked up in the rearview mirror, and my left eye is bloodshot, just bloodshot. I'm like, what the hell's going on? And it's swollen.
Yeah.
I'm like, what the hell's going on here? So I was talking to a friend of mine. I'm like, dude, you're never gonna believe what's going on. Like, here's what's happening. And he's like, dude, like, we know you're a badass. You don't have to prove anything to anybody. Whatever. Like, don't go back into the house. I'm like, well, I gotta go back in the house. My stuff is in there.
Right.
Like, and I got it for another night. And I'm like, dude, don't go back in there. Don't go back in there. I'm like, I'm staying. I went back in the house, and it definitely felt like it wasn't welcome, but it calmed down. But then it got to a point where I'm like, yeah, I can already tell I'm a target.
Yeah.
I am a target. And I did leave. And that was the only time I have ever left a location. And I somehow managed to drive home. It took me just over 8 hours to get home. I'm probably about a half hour, 45 minutes of sleep.
Yeah. Yeah. That's always wonderful.
Yeah. So I can't wait for that documentary to come out. I don't know when it's going to come out exactly.
Yeah.
But
yeah. Rosie's saying the energy of whatever it was didn't match yours and your body felt it.
Yeah. It was not good.
Yeah. Yep.
But here I am. Just keep going back. Just can't get enough of it.
It's glutton for punishment. So on that note, Nikki's asking, do you have a favorite location to investigate?
I can't really say I have a favorite. Every location I've been to for different reasons I enjoy and I love.
Yeah.
Whether it be the location itself or the location owners that can make a place just wonderful.
Yeah.
For example, Daryl from Post Town Elementary School, he and his wife Brenda, amazing people. And I love going there, not just because it's haunted and I investigate it, but I love spending time with Daryl and Brenda.
Right.
And that's my favorite part about that place.
That's good.
Hales Bar Dam. Nobody can really investigate that now. I was up there almost every weekend. I had access to it at basically any time. And I used that to my advantage to put theories to the test and try to learn from it. And one of the things that I have learned is we have, there's that theory out there in the paranormal where, large body of moving water can help generate paranormal activity and, it amplifies it or gives spirits energy, things like that. Or certain things that are in the ground, limestone or whatever, helps, it's like a conduit or whatever.
Right.
I have found that not to be true.
Oh. All right.
I have been there, man, like I said, many times for 2.5 years, like almost every weekend there. And like 98% of the time, it's quiet. Nothing's going on. And I'll go there when nobody's investigated it for a while. And nothing. We get lucky from time to time and things do happen. But I have found that not to be true. And I don't really believe that spirits actually need any kind of energy whatsoever from us or our equipment. If you think about it, you could go to a place that's been abandoned, no electricity, nothing, and you have nothing on you, no equipment, nothing. And before you could even walk in there, you could see something or hear something.
Right.
You go in there and something could happen. Where is it getting its energy from? I also have a hard time believing that because there's a big fireball in the sky we call the sun that gives off energy. We can get energy from that.
Right.
And I've always joked around and said, you know, a lot of these locations that we go to, they have electricity. So if I was a ghost and I needed energy, I'm going to play with the light socket or the fuse box or something.
Yeah.
I've had somebody say, well, it's just easier for spirits, you know, just to get it from like batteries or something. No, no. I do believe, though, that yes, certain spirits can manipulate our equipment, can do things like that. I don't believe that spirits try to use us ourselves as some sort of battery. I think it's more of a manipulation kind of thing. I've found that a lot of people say, oh, you know, it's draining my energy, and it's like, well, you've been up for almost 24 hours.
Yeah. Maybe it's the lack of food that's doing it.
Yeah. Or there's other reasons.
Yeah.
And that's my opinion. I'm not going to sit there and say, you know, hey, this is factual. This is what I'm experiencing. This is what I'm finding out.
So let me ask you this question. This is just purely hypothetical, but I've heard both sides. Do you believe that the longer a spirit has passed on, the stronger it can get? Like when you first pass on, you really don't know really that you've passed on, and you're still in that transition period, so you're not as strong as you are after you've been dead for a while and you kind of figured out how things happen.
That's a great question. Nobody has actually really asked me that question before.
You're welcome.
Yeah, thank you. So I think a lot of it depends on personal belief. If you talk to a Catholic,
Mm-hmm.
they will, a lot of them, especially ones who do exorcisms and things like that, they will say spirits, because there are things in place for a spirit to where it can't really do much of anything.
Right.
You know, maybe it can move something, but these are light objects. Maybe make knocking sounds, whatever. But they're restricted. And that is how they can tell the difference between a human spirit and non-human spirit. I don't believe that a spirit necessarily gets stronger per se, the longer it's been gone.
Do they just figure out things better?
So it could go. It really depends. So I'll give an example.
Ladies and gentlemen, I just dumped Joe Vitale.
Now I'll give you an example. And again, you know, this kind of thing kind of depends. Like, it really is more of personal belief.
That's why I said hypothetical. That's why I asked
right
that way.
There are, you know, people will say, well, you know, hey, you know, we have a ghost in the house. That's really fun. Then all of a sudden it starts moving things and moving heavier things. And then it gets violent. And you're like, well, that's probably not a ghost.
Right.
That is probably something completely different. I don't believe that a human spirit gets stronger over time. I think it just stays the same. Again, like if you talk to like a Catholic exorcist, you know, they'll say, you know, well, God put these things in place and they can't go beyond.
Right. Those are the limitations.
These boundaries. Right. But if you ask somebody else, they're like, oh no, they can do whatever. Like they have no boundaries. But I also look at it too, and everyone has done this. You know, hey, you know, if you're here, can you move that ball? I have yet to see a freaking ball. Well, I have, but very rare. I think once or twice I've actually seen like a ball move, and even then I'm like, I don't know if that was paranormal or not. If it takes a lot of energy, as people say, to move something as simple as a ball
that's designed to roll,
then I'm gonna say, you know, human spirits really are limited, and maybe some of them might be a little stronger than others, but the consensus is in the paranormal that human spirits are only capable of moving objects up to 2 pounds. Unless that's changed.
Right.
But that's something, that I've been told by Catholic priests and others in the field for years and years and years and years. It's, and that's what I've grown into
That's
also believing.
Yeah.
But again, we're all biased. It doesn't matter who you are.
Yeah.
We're all biased. When we go into an investigation, our biasness is there.
Right.
There's really no truly way to get rid of it. And it's not necessarily a bad thing. But we do try to keep ourselves in check and try not to be, but at the end of the day, our personal experiences throughout our lifetime is going to show through on an investigation.
Yep. Yeah. Rosie's saying, I think it may be how they died with the trauma or problems, and the quieter ones probably are the calm ones. So that was going to lead me to another question. Do you believe that if you are evil in life, you are also evil in death?
Oh, I absolutely do believe that. Okay. I do believe that. And that's when. So then there's that confusion of, it's a ghost, but then all of a sudden it gets aggressive.
Right.
And, kind of pushing you around a little bit. If it's, a human spirit and it pushes in an aggressive manner, and it may not actually trying to be aggressive, and maybe like, hey, pay attention to me kind of thing.
Right.
If I were to drop 2 pounds on your stomach, you're going to feel that.
Right.
If you're just standing around minding your own business and you get pushed, and like I said, they say that human spirits are only capable of moving objects up to 2 pounds. 2 pounds is a lot.
Yeah.
You think about like, when a kid, just a small little toddler runs up to you, and like pushes into you. Yeah, you feel that.
Yeah.
You definitely feel that. Yeah, I do think that there are human spirits out there that can be pretty aggressive. But also there are people who will say, oh, well, this ghost went and tossed me across the room. And it's like, I wasn't a ghost.
Yeah.
Or a ghost of a child. I got a ghost of a child, but it's kind of aggressive and trying to, again, fool people into thinking that it's a child when it's really not. I could go on for days talking about this, to be honest. There are a lot of things. There is so much to the paranormal that it's very hard to keep track of. And again, ultimately, it does come down to like your own personal belief through experience. But absolutely, I do believe that if you have a ghost that's pretty pissed off at you, it's probably gonna take it out on you. And it'll probably suck. But
yeah, and that's important for new people to understand that are just kind of coming into this. You're, like you said, and it's true, you're going to have, even if you're brand new, you have a bias towards something going into it. You have certain expectations, even if you're brand new, of what you're hoping to get out of it or what you're hoping is going to happen or anything else. So if certain things happen and in your mind it tells you it's one thing, then that's what you're going to believe. And that's just the way it is. There's the only people who can ever talk you out of that is if you are open enough to listen to someone else's opinion and their reason on why they may be correct over what your first belief is. And it may come down to experience. People who have a lot of experience, like you, has been doing this on and off for 30 years, compared to somebody who, like me, who has been on a handful of investigations and have only been doing it for, about a year and a half. So, it's a little different. So it comes down to exactly what you're saying. I think it comes down to the knowledge base that you have and what your beliefs are.
Another little pro tip too. Don't talk to ghosts like they're kids.
Right.
Like, it drives me nuts when people, they like, they'll bring in a piece of equipment. Yeah, that thing over there. Then they explain it like, they're dumb and they're unintelligent. They're like they're 2 years old.
Yeah.
And I'm just like, yeah, you walk over that, it'll make annoying noise. It's not going to hurt you, whatever.
Right.
And if you go to a place that's been investigated like hundreds of times, I promise you, they know what a phone is. They know what a cell phone is. They know what it is that we're using. They know what a recorder is. Yeah, it's fine. It's like, hey, I got this digital recorder. You don't need to explain it to them.
Yeah.
They already know.
Yeah, they've heard the spiel hundreds of times.
Right. And of course, they've heard the same question thousands of times. Can you tell me what your name is? I'd be tired of that too.
Yeah. I just start making stuff up, I think, if I was a ghost. I would just start randomly making stuff up.
I would too.
Yeah.
I would too. I was like, this guy wants my name.
I think I'd be coming up with the most interesting stories I could as a ghost, just to entertain them at this point. Yeah. Just so I'm entertained to see what they do.
And don't trust a spirit of any kind. It's funny because you could go in there and be like, oh, hey, is George here? And then you get a name, a completely different name.
Yeah.
But it's really George. And you're like, hey, there's something else that haunts here. Now you got a bunch of people coming into the location looking for something that isn't actually there.
Yeah. And that would be me as a ghost. I guarantee it. I would do my best to mess with people just because they were doing that to me. Yeah. Rosie's asking, have you ever taken someone new to an investigation that got really scared from something?
A couple of times. So I worked with a guy who absolutely did not believe in this stuff. His name was Jeff. Like, didn't believe it, thought it was a bunch of made up garbage. So I'm like, hey, maybe you can go with us one time. I'll ask the people running the team, if you can go. And they're like, yeah, sure. It'd be cool to have somebody who doesn't believe in any of it. See what happens. So take them to a location. And we were all outside with the exception of Jeff and another investigator, Leanne. Well, he goes off by himself. He's got a video camera. It's the team's video camera. Well, really, the lead's video camera. And we hear from the outside somebody screaming like a girl, like a girly girl, like a small child girl. Yeah. I'm like, what the hell is that? So we start running over to the entrance of the location, and he's running out screaming. And we're like, whoa, what happened? What happened? And we're like, whoa, where's Leanne? Because Leanne, she didn't come out of there.
Yeah.
And we're like, what happened? And like, at first he wouldn't tell us anything. And then Leanne just comes walking out like, what was that about? Like, no big deal. And then he told us that he was in a room and he seen a shadow, a very tall shadow, walk past the doorway, caught his attention. Then he's seen it again. And then it blocked the doorway. So then he yelled, screaming, and like ran through it. And we're like, he's probably, something messing with him. Like, his eyes, whatever.
Yeah.
He's like, I got it all on the camera. Like, well, where is it? He's like, I dropped it in the room. So Leanne and her brother Bill, they go in there, they get the camera, and the camera's messed up. The lens is busted on it. It's cracked, and they didn't look at the footage for like a couple of weeks. They're like, he probably didn't see anything or whatever.
Yeah.
And then they did. And then he captured what he said he had seen. And I asked him, I'm like, well, you believe now? He's like, well, I seen something, but I'm not going to sit there and tell you it was a ghost. I'm like, well, it scared the hell out of you.
Right. Right.
He's like, it startled me. I'm like, dude, screaming out of the location like that, like a little girl.
Right.
That's not being startled. That's being scared.
Yeah, you screamed like it was a ghost.
Yeah. And I'm like, well, we're going to be going to this other place. You want to go? He's like, no. And but see, the thing was when that happened and he told us what happened, like everything that he believed, we could literally see it in his face, in his eyes.
Yeah.
Everything that he believed, like, just went down the toilet. Just like completely gone. Like his whole world, we literally watched this dude's whole world crash.
That's awesome.
And I've had other people go on investigations with me who they're like, but this guy, he was a BSer. Yeah, he was a neighbor, and he's like, yeah, I've been to the Amityville house. They were doing tours there, and the walls were breathing. And I'm like, dude, no, you've never been there because they don't do that there. Yes, they do. I'm like, no. So we did an investigation, and you guys can find this. Just look up John Wolfe, Damascus, or Virginia, Southwest Virginia. There was a guy who came up missing. They found him months later. He was dead. They knew he was dead. Somebody murdered him. But his family lived just a few doors down from us, and they said that they went to his house, and they had these really weird things happen. We're like, we'll check it out. So we did. We go there, and it was pretty weird. But the guy who was with me, he was supposed to be like, I'm not afraid of anything. He didn't want to go in the house. I got him into the house. He didn't want to leave. Like, he wanted to be right next to the door. He's freaking out. I don't like this. I don't like this. I'm like, dude. I'm like, this is why we do this kind of thing. I'm like, you're sitting here telling me that, we encountered all these things and weren't afraid, but here you are. This is a, completely different story right now. I don't know. There's just something wrong. Because what it was is we had literally seen a door that had a lock latch. We literally watched the latch rise up, slide over, and the door come open. And then it slammed shut. That freaked him out. I'm like, oh, that's pretty cool. So we probably investigated that place, and it was disgusting. It was gross. We probably investigated that, I don't know, maybe 10 minutes at best, and he wanted out of there. Plus, he was driving. I didn't have a choice.
Oh, yeah.
And he wanted out of there.
Yeah.
And I was not happy because we drove like 45 minutes there for 10 minutes of him. I'm afraid.
Yeah.
I even turned the lights on for him. I went to different rooms. Like, here, I got these lights on. Nope. He left the house. Like, he went outside. And I got to go turn these lights off.
Right.
So I'm turning these lights off. I'm like, oh, this is great. I can't see. I got my lighter trying to see, where I'm going. And I'm like, dude, could you at least hold the door open so I can see, oh, I don't like this. You got to hurry. You got to hurry.
Yeah. Rosie's asking if you guys use the cat balls, the little light up.
No, those things go off at random. My cats had those things, and they would just light up out of nowhere, and that's what they're designed to do.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're supposed to give the cats attention, whatever.
Right.
Now Dawn, she wanted to use it, and I'm not going to sit there and tell people what they can and can't use on investigations. That's not going to happen. But we had found a cat ball at Harriman Hospital. And she wanted to use it, and we did. Nothing happened with it. I'm not big on dowsing rods either. Yeah. But again, Dawn wanted to use it. And again, I'm not going to say, no, you can't because I think it's stupid. No, I don't think it's stupid, but there's just the way I can see it with my own eyes. Everybody moves, right? Yeah. Everybody, shakes. And yeah, those rods are going to react. Some people they can literally just hold them still and they won't move. Like
Right.
Dawn, she used them at Harrisville Hospital. They didn't move. They didn't do anything. I don't trust devices. The only device that I trust is the what is it called? The EDI Plus, and only because it gives data. That's it.
Which one's the EDI Plus?
It's a little box that has different what is it? Like it can sense vibration, EMF, and some other things.
Okay.
It's expensive, but
Could be why you don't have one. Yeah. So,
yeah, I would like to get one.
So what I heard during that whole conversation, though, is when it started off was when someone asked to use cat balls, and you said, "Well, Dawn Marie wanted to use one, and she wanted to use." As basically, I heard you just say that you're afraid of Dawn Marie, so you let her do whatever she wants. So,
well, I mean, you can take it like that if you want.
I'm just saying that, So,
well, I mean, that's what then there are things that Eric, like in our documentary, things that Eric, he wanted to use, and we're just like, whatever, do your thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't trust the SLS camera. Well, that thing can be debunked left and right, anyways.
Yeah.
But there, people who I've investigated who like to use it, and I'm like, you do realize, and then
I have one. I have one, and I haven't used that thing probably since I first got it. Because there was too many things that was setting it off that I can go, oh yeah, that's there.
Right.
Yeah, that's there. So, and it just got too hard to try to decipher if it was real or if it wasn't, because I couldn't rely on it consistently. So I had to just kind of put it away. So.
Right. And then you're like, I just wasted a lot of money. And apps. Yeah, I don't like to use apps. The only app that I really like to use is something called the AEVPS.
Yeah.
And all that is an automatic EVP session. I can run the app, like it's all presets, right? You have a list of a bunch of questions that can be asked.
Yeah.
It's all pre-recorded. You can choose adult male or female or child male, female. Pick your questions, set it down. If you want to have a recorder next to it, you can, or it records onto your phone anyway, or it can record onto your phone, the session.
Right.
It can be used as a trigger object as well. You set it down, you can walk away and go investigate somewhere else while that thing is going.
Awesome.
I've had some success with that. I've also used it as a trigger object. A place that I went to, I was unable to get things going. And I'm like, well, let's try this. And I used a child's voice, and then boom.
Yeah.
I started getting some EVPs.
Yeah. That's good.
But these apps, the Spirit Talker and stuff like that, like, it's funny because I'm like, first off, it's binary code.
Yeah.
Okay. I don't know how to read binary code. I have no clue. How does a ghost know the word in binary code and know what chip it has to use and all these other things to say something?
Yeah.
Again, I do believe that manipulation with things can happen. Absolutely. But is an app really the gateway for a spirit to communicate through?
Yeah, I have a hard time with the apps as well, simply because that's not what my phone was designed for.
Right.
It's a little different if the piece of equipment is designed specifically for investigation versus I'm going to throw an app that someone built onto my phone and expect it to work the exact same way. My phone does really good pictures. It does really good camera work, but it's not really designed to be a novelist. So, there's a there's structure behind that gets then, and scientific methods that get put into that to make that work the way it's supposed to.
And
My
then
phone was designed for that.
Yeah, and then there's it's EMF. They got to give a certain amount of EMF to trigger the word that they want to say. Well, how much EMF do they know how much EMF? Because there's no directions anywhere in there,
Right.
And we don't even know if ghosts truly emit any kind of EMF. Anyways, it's a theory, but there's a lot wrong with all this stuff,
Right.
And
Rosie, you leave your big words out of this, okay? She uses words like algorithms.
Yeah, algorithms. That YouTube algorithm. I'm old school. Yeah. I'll try some new things out, whatever.
Yep.
But I always tell people, take things with a grain of salt.
That's what I tell people. I said, you know what? I said the two things I really take with me are a flashlight and an audio recorder. And that's the most that I use. We do have other equipment that sometimes we'll set up, but those are the two that I rely on the most. And that's simply because that's, besides myself, I really sense myself better than anything else. But just an audio recorder and my flashlight are basically what I walk around with. So
I don't even walk around with a flashlight. It's hilarious because when I investigate, and I'm like, oh, I can't see what I'm doing here. And then I pull out my lighter. I'm like, don't you have a flashlight? No. Why don't you use your phone? I don't want to.
Yeah. Awesome. So, well, I think we're at a good stopping point. We've been going for about an hour and a half.
Yeah.
But first off, I do want to, I have not mentioned it, but I have posted it just so you're aware. So anyone who wants to find out more about Mr. Joe right here underneath us is his Facebook page, his YouTube site, as well as his Instagram. Now, for those of you who do not want to copy and paste, do not know how to write fast enough, or take a picture of this because you're too damn lazy, if you go back and look at the comment section, I actually posted this information in the comment section for Instagram, YouTube, and for Facebook as well. So anyone who is watching on any of those platforms are able to go out there and actually pull this information from the comments to figure out how to follow Joe. And I will tell you to like, follow, and share Joe's information, because if you go out and look at his page, you're going to see all the stuff that he's doing, all the stuff he has done. And it's a really cool site to follow. So I would advise you all to go to all these wonderful things down here. Like I said, like, follow, share, let other people know about it. Let them know they have other stuff coming on. Like I said, like the Evil Unearthed, which I'm pretty interested in looking at. I know just by this conversation we had, there's a lot of people that are going to go out to go out and watch your Harrisville Hauntings now, because a lot of people have already been asking about it, which is fantastic. I'm happy about that. But other than that, yeah, I mean, I want to thank you for coming on. If you don't mind, I'm just going to throw you to the back really quick while I close the show down, and I'll come back and talk to you afterwards. Right. But again, thank you so much for coming on the show. It was, again, learning lesson for me. I like listening to a lot of the stuff you said, because, again, it's stuff that my wife asked the questions, but it's things that I'm like, oh, that's a good question to ask, because, some people do this and I haven't thought of that. So for me, regardless of, I always learn something from a guest I have on. So, and my audience really is good about sharing stuff they've learned as well. So thank you again. And I will be with you shortly, right after I get done shutting the show down. So all right. Thanks a lot, Joe. Appreciate it, brother.
Thank you.
All right, everyone. That's my show. So as normal, go out, like, follow, share Joe, just like I asked you to do all my other guests. But Joe's is, if you go out, like I said, especially go out to his, I'm on his Facebook site, and this is where I'm pulling all the information from about what he's done and what's coming up. So it's pretty cool just to go out there and kind of take a look around and see what's coming up for a lot of people. Appreciate y'all for coming on. Really quick, my stuff, if you want to find me again, right here, facebook.com, Stuff in the Room from the Schoolbook. I'm on Twitch, and I'm also on YouTube, so you can find me on all those locations. Like, follow, share. Keep growing the community. I know this benefits a lot of people. I appreciate y'all watching. I do have on a special show this week. Thursday, I will have on, her name is Anne Marie. She's going to be on my show. Expect a lot of cussing and a lot of fun for that one. She is hilarious. But she will be coming on my show. I'm actually getting ready to put out a schedule for the next couple of weeks. I have a Monday, Thursday, I think all the way through like September 11th from here on out. So be sure to stay tuned for that. I'll try to post as much as I can to keep you guys updated on what's about to come out. Other than that, have a great rest of your week. Hopefully I'll see a lot of you Thursday. If not, feel free to watch the playbacks as they are out there. Stay safe. Again, remember Maui in your prayers because they're going through a lot right now, and that's very important to keep them in mind. And help if you can. Any kind of donations, $5, $10, anything helps. And that's a pretty huge situation out there. So I would encourage people to do that. Other than that, have a great night. Much love. And we will talk to you again later.